Dominating the center of the city, the stone power tower here was 60 feet in height and painted entirely in white, the object contrasting with the blue sky beyond. 4 roads from the northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast led directly to the base of the tower. As we approached, I easily noticed the massive garden of white roses that completely encircled the tower, an impressive assemblage of plant life that gave the tower entrances a look of splendor and even purity. Armed female guards stood at attention before each of the 4 entrances, watching us as we approached. "Welcome to the EAA Power Tower," one of the guards said as we approached to within 10 feet, her demeanor non-threatening. "We are all sisters in the eyes of Queen Delphana, to be treated with equal dignity and respect. Do you seek an audience with the Queen?" Frankly, I was more than surprised by the warm welcome. Lately, getting into a country's power tower had been difficult and even dangerous. However, the female guards here were welcoming and didn't seem threatening at all. That said, it also appeared that some sort of fire or blast had ravaged the base of the tower recently, though most of the flower garden had since regenerated. The Sislan Way to the south was just attacked by a small army of swamp creatures, Kartha exclaimed, seizing my attention. "We drove them away, but you will want to investigate." In agreement, one of the guards instructed several others to head south, the small group sprinting away moments later. "Thank you for the report," the same guard then said to you. "You should go let Queen Delphana know as well." Climbing a spiral staircase, we soon entered the large, beautiful palace room of Queen Delphana. Amidst all the furniture, ornate throne, decorations, and such were dozens of large vases filled with white roses, both the smell as well as sight here most pleasing to the senses. The palace room was also full of women. Many were performing some sort of dance, a few others were playing musical instruments while a dozen or so more were simply being entertained by it all. Try as I might, I couldn't see the Queen at the moment, there were too many people in the way, so I just had to be patient. With little else to do, we stood there near the stairway exit and watched the dancers, quickly recognizing that they were professionals and knew exactly what they were doing. A diversity of women dressed in an abundance of colored satins, none of the dancers wore any jewelry or makeup, their natural beauty more attractive and enticing than anything artificial they could wear. Dancing to the rhythm of a proud, intriguing beat, coupled with several stringed and reed-based instruments, the encounter was wondrous to behold, even breathtaking. Indeed, I soon recognized that I had just witnessed a sort of celebration of independence, an acknowledgement of how well things were going here in Ghenland and a reminder of how hard the foremothers of the island nation had worked and sacrificed to provide the entitlements of today. The performance ended, the dancers and musicians bowed, then most of them stepped to one of the 4 exits within the large chamber, disappearing moments later. "Come to see the Queen?" a familiar voice asked from behind. Standing there was Nira, the captain of the guard we had met back at the main gate to the city. A smug smile on her face, she motioned for us to follow, apparently about to introduce all of us to Queen Delphana personally. Following Nira, we were brought to an older human woman with pale blue eyes sitting upon a simple yet ornate golden throne. Dressed in flowing dark robes that hid nearly her entire body, the woman was still quite attractive for her age and commanded a presence of authority and respect. "Your Grace," Nira began, addressing the Queen. "Hey Race, the adventuring party I told you about, led by Lomtora of Pyrepa. They wish a few words with you." Not sure how to react, I bowed before the Queen, trying to show our deepest respect. "No, please, no need to bow before me," the Queen instructed with compassion. "We are all equals here, my sisters. Stand tall and strong. These heroes have come to EAA in search of another sister," Nira continued, explaining my presence. "Have you had any luck with that?" "Yes, we have," Kartha responded with a soft smile. "She is here, attending to the garden in the north." "I am glad to hear that," the Queen continued, nodding to Nira. "Now that we've helped you find your sister, would you consider doing a favor for us in return?" "What do you have in mind?" Redfern asked, curious. "What do all of you think of our wondrous city?" Delphana asked, not addressing any of us specifically. "It seems to be an oasis for women everywhere," Redfern responded, rather surprised. "Exactly," Queen Delphana returned, pointing to Redfern. "It may be a man's world out there, but here within Ghenland women are not only free to live their lives as they see fit, but do so alongside many other strong, brave, resourceful, talented women. We've recreated Sisla's own utopia right here, and we don't need a tiny minority of rebels to spoil all that we have." "Rebels?" Ariana asked, surprised. "EAA seems perfect in almost every way, why would anyone rebel here?" There have always been a few who feel that men should have a place here in Ghenland as well, Delphana answered after a deep breath. It's not that we hate men, but all men eventually demand something from us, whether that's power, wealth, sex, or something else entirely selfish. Here in Ghenland, we've unshackled ourselves from all men entirely, free to live our lives as we deem fit. Men are always in it for themselves, I condemned, my own experience is not dissimilar. The Queen nodded affirmatively before continuing. Anyway, we're aware of rebels here in EAA who not only want men to be allowed into the city but are willing to harm and even kill to get their way. Nira, tell them about the attack upon our power tower. The rebels were fairly respectful for a long time, we didn't give in to them, but they didn't hurt anyone either. Then out of nowhere our power tower was attacked, a massive fireball that killed at least a dozen guards, including my predecessor Vanera. We will not stand for such unprovoked violence. Delphana cursed, raising her voice for the first time. Those responsible must be found and marched directly to the gallows. That must be the favor you want from us, Kartha assumed. We need to find these rebels for you? These rebels are tricky, Nira added. They've hidden themselves well within our populace, so finding them will not be easy. Please, help us bring these murderers to justice. After a glance between my party heroes, I quickly agreed to Delphana's request, both her and Nira visually relieved by my decision. Thank you, all of you, Queen Delphana exclaimed, quite happy with our decision. Scour the city, find these killers and bring them to us. We'll reward you with anything you wish. The Queen then sat down, Nira remaining by her side and the conversation apparently over. Back outside the power tower, we questioned where to start our search for the EAA rebels. We had already visited several places within the capital city, so my intuition was to start in a direction we hadn't yet tried. We haven't seen anything to the west yet, Ariana suggested, pointing in that direction. I agreed and we proceeded west, reaching the furthest west central area of the city alongside the river nearly a half hour later. Here, we found a modest canvas tent, the road leading to a doorless entrance into the tent. Dozens of seabirds flew around just above the tent, and as we approached, I easily detected a fishy odor coming from the area. Standing there, we then noted a pair of very old townswomen pulling a cart filled with several burlap sacks toward the tent. The whole thing seemed, well, fishy, but we weren't going to learn anything more just standing there. Approaching the interior of the tent from the east, we watched as the two townswomen pulled their cart alongside what appeared to be a pit in the ground near the center of the tent. They then grabbed the burlap sacks and emptied their contents into the pit, treating the contents as the garbage it was. Indeed, the bags appeared filled with all manner of fish heads, shellfish husks, crab and frog legs, clams, snails and so forth. Apparently, the women of EAA loved their fishy and amphibian meats. The women emptied the 5 sacks, tossing them back upon the cart before turning to leave, giving all of us a gentle smile as they passed by. Moments later the tent interior was empty, save for the small flock of seabirds that had swooped in to see what they could scavenge. Come to think of it, the city does seem unnaturally clean. Kartha commented as we watched the women depart. It appears EAA has found a safe and efficient way of dealing with its wastes. While there was little else to do here, the pit itself seemed a bit intriguing and we quickly stepped to it. Expecting to find a pit leading down dozens of feet, I was surprised to see nothing but utter blackness about 5 feet down. This was no ordinary darkness and I strongly suspected that the pit was magical in some way. Testing a theory, Redfern kicked a nearby fish head that missed being properly disposed of and knocked it into the pit himself. Sure enough, the head fell about 5 feet and then immediately disappeared without a sound. Very clever, Redfern acknowledged, impressed by the discovery. You're right, Kartha. The people of EAA have rigged up some sort of teleportation portal to deal with their waste. I imagine it teleports it all far away, perhaps into the sea. It does not look like something I would want to fall into, Ariana observed, keeping away from the pit. No, we wouldn't want to do that, Redfern chuckled in return. Unfortunately, that was about all we could tell about the disposal pit here, so it was time to move on. Deciding to visit the local library within EAA, we asked around and then headed northeast, reaching the library some 20 minutes later. Entering the well-stocked and resourceful library, thousands of books, tomes, and manuscripts crowded the stone shelves all around us, obviously providing many places to conduct topical investigation and research regarding EAA and the island nation of Ghenland. The chief librarian then stepped to us and inquired, not about to let us pass without making some sort of financial gift to the library. Surrendering a gold coin, the chief librarian acknowledged my donation and motioned us forward. Spending the entire afternoon at the library, we then began our research by learning the general history of Ghenland. Women had not ruled Ghenland forever, of course. Centuries ago, it was a monster-infested wasteland where most who explored the island were soon hunted down and slaughtered. An all-female adventuring party took care of the deadliest monsters and, over several decades, slowly turned it into a haven for all female folk throughout Mariga. We also learned that while men had been forbidden within the island nation of Ghenland for centuries, recently under penalty of death if captured, a small group of underground rebels were apparently trying to reverse the law and allow men back into EAA. While the rebels were originally just vocal in nature, a season ago the EAA power tower was attacked with tremendous fire, killing 15 guards and officials and blasting the base of the tower. Some believe that the attack was caused by a group of local rebels pushing Queen Delpana to end the moratorium banning men within the country, while others say a lone male wizard was responsible, and was quickly executed for the crime. Officially, the case still remained open. Having learned all we could within the library, Redfern asked if we could make a quick stop at the local scribe to offload a few magical scrolls and see what may be available for purchase. Quickly reaching the scribe, reams of paper lay stacked everywhere while an elven cleric awaited our presence, ready to sell us whatever magical scrolls we might require. Sainairs and Kartha as well as Redfern had several scrolls to sell, then all three made a few purchases for some stronger spells too. What can you tell us about the power tower being fireballed a season or so ago? Kartha began, hoping the cleric knew something. Yes, some nasty business, that, the elf responded, willing to talk about it. Some good women died that night, quite unfortunate. One thing though, the fire wasn't magical. Not magical? Redfern asked, intrigued. Are you sure? What was it, then? Not magical, chemical, alchemical to be precise. You're looking for an alchemist, not a magic user or cleric. Interesting. Redfern responded, surprised by the clue. That should narrow down our search considerably. The elf nodded in agreement, the brief conversation drawing to a close. Having obtained a possible clue from the scribe, we headed southwest and found the city alchemist. The shop here was well organized with all manner of containers, made mostly of glass and each containing some strange powder or liquid. An older elven woman stood as we entered the building, greeting our party with kindness and compassion. Word around town is that you've been hired by Queen Delpana to find those men-loving rebels that firebombed the power tower a season ago, the elf softly commented, surprising us. Would you like some advice? It will cost a few gold coins but I think I can help. While I had no way of knowing for sure, the elf looked honest enough and so I placed 5 gold pieces down on the counter, pressing her for more information. I don't know who the rebels are, but one of them must be an alchemist, the elf returned, dropping my coins into her pocket. The fire they used to attack the power tower wasn't magical, it's what we call alchemist fire and it's very difficult to create. The ingredients are dangerous and hard to acquire, trust me, I know. An alchemist, Eswin nodded, appreciative. Got it. Given our location, we then purchased and sold several magical potions for our journeys ahead. Wanting to stop at the local bank and make a quick deposit of all the coinage I was carrying, I suggested we first stop at the EAA jewelers so we could exchange the jewels we found in the Dwarven Aqueduct crypt a few days ago. Heading northeast and quickly arriving at the jeweler, we stepped inside and had a look around. Naturally, the shop seemed to contain just about every type of stone, crystal, and rock imaginable, so we had come to the right place. An older human woman named Sashara greeted us, ready to buy and sell any sort of gems or jewelry we were interested in. I then quickly sold all the gems and jewelry carried by the party, earning us several thousand gold pieces. Casually looking about the shop, I began to recognize that there were a lot of items here that were emerald green in color, from raw jewels to ornate jewelry to other small knickknacks. Kartha seemed to notice the same thing and soon inquired. Oh, all the emerald? Sashara responded, glancing about at some of it. It's all from a local mine to the southeast, one of the best veins of emerald in all Mariga. The mine helped the first settlers here in Ghenland become financially secure, but the mine's been tapped out and abandoned for decades now. Taking a closer look at the emeralds, they sure looked recently mined, they hadn't yet been polished or even all that cleaned up, which seemed strange. How long has the mine been abandoned? Ariana asked, curious about something. Oh, it's been decades now. I think Queen Delphana officially closed it soon after becoming Queen of Ghenland about 30 years ago. Acknowledging the jeweler's response, Ariana then asked a contradictory question. These emeralds look recent. They've been mined recently, haven't they? Sashara suddenly fumbled for words, caught in an apparent lie. Care to try that again? I asked, calling out the obvious lie. Sashara sighed before continuing, somewhat ashamed and embarrassed. There are people hiding in the mine, and in return for food and supplies they pay me with these rough-cut gems. We aren't breaking any laws, but they must be hiding for a reason. We appreciate the honesty, Kartha replied. Your secret's safe with us. The woman managed a faint smile, likely fearful of us now. You thinking what I am thinking? Eswin whispered into my ear, turning away from the jeweler. This mine sounds like a perfect place to hide for a bunch of rebels. My other heroes all silently agreed. It appeared we had enough information to return to Queen Delphana and at least suggest where the rebels may be hiding. After a quick detour to the local bank to relieve ourselves of the excess coinage we were carrying, we returned to the power tower and the court of Queen Delphana. There, both she and her guard Captain Nira anxiously awaited our news, 6 additional guards and civil servants standing nearby as well. What news do you have? The Queen immediately asked, sensing that we had something important to tell her. It didn't take long for us to tell Delphana everything we knew. The Queen leaned back onto her throne, contemplating the news and taking a long pause before speaking again. There is no time to waste, you must assault this abandoned mine and defeat the rebels, immediately. That wasn't part of the favor, Kartha replied, wary of Delphana's order. We're not here to become directly involved in this little rebellion of yours. I know, and I apologize, the Queen replied, her tone still respectful. But they'll know we're coming if I send my guards. You're much more skilled and stealthier for something like this. Please, we will double, triple, your reward. Just go get these traitors and return them here. I know that mine, Nira announced, surprising us. With a small team of heroes like this, we can penetrate the rebel stronghold and capture them all with minimal loss of life. My queen, let me go along with this party. The older woman looked to Nira for several moments, then turned back to me with her quick decision. Yes, of course, a bold plan. Go with these heroes and leave at once. The old mine is a few hours' march to the southeast, Nira continued, now a member of my party. Let's make sure we're fully stocked up on weapons and supplies, then let's depart through the main gate as quickly as possible. Any other advice? Ariana asked, honored to have Nira by her side. Yes. When we arrive, we will need to wait until the cover of darkness before we try to sneak into the mine. If they know we're coming, it'll be almost impossible to capture them all. Queen Delphana nodded approvingly again, then Nira led us down the stairway and back outside, about to lead us to the abandoned mine and the rebels hiding there. Nira insisted that we stop at the smithy again to ensure that we were fully stocked, then led us back to the city's main gate and through, the sun setting in the west as we continued southeast. Soon reaching the bridge where Voxar had originally teleported us, Nira commanded my party forward, keeping to the road heading southeast. About how far to this abandoned mine? Eswin asked, a good question. Just a few hours, Nira replied, leading the way. It's near the ocean and easy to find. We should arrive around midnight. Eswin nodded, the way forward relatively easy and safe. Following the road southeast to nearly the shore of the island nation, we finally arrived at the abandoned emerald mine, the road itself leading to a large wooden door on the side of a hill. There didn't appear to be any guards or sentries here, but Nira reminded us that we needed to wait until midnight or so before entering the mine. As midnight neared, a slight fog rolled in, further obscuring my heroes from any guards who may be watching from within the mine. Let's take a look around before trying the doors, Eswin ordered, looking suspiciously about. Searching the immediate area, I was a little surprised by the lack of guards, traps, wards or anything. The area definitely appeared abandoned. I hope we haven't come all this way for nothing, Ariana worried. Let's find out, Redfern responded, pointing to the large door. Carefully inspecting the surface of the large door, we noticed that several planks had been replaced with similar, but not exact, slats of wood. The door had been repaired recently, leading us to believe that the mine may be inhabited after all. Nodding to Eswin to proceed, the warrior grabbed a small chain hanging down and pulled the mighty door open. Peering within, all we could see was pitch darkness. The mine did indeed look abandoned. About to step through the doors, I suddenly noticed something dangerous and immediately called for the party to stop. Further inspecting the doorway, I discovered an insidious guillotine trap, wired to allow a heavy blade to fall upon anyone passing through the door. Having found the trap in time to prevent any harm to my party, I soon disabled it, allowing safe passage forward. There is no reason to trap the entrance to an abandoned mine, Nira hissed, angered by the surprise. Those wretched man-lovers must be here. Apparently, Eswin responded, disliking the comment as much as the trap itself. Well, need a light source moving forward, Redfern added, peering beyond. And that's a wrap of episode number 29, The Rebels of Ghenland. Expect additional episodes every few weeks as the story continues.